Does Mr. Delvecchio own that lot that you're on now?
Does he own it? No.
He doesn't?
He does not own the lot I'm on now, no. We bought it from Jack
You bought it from Jack?
Delvecchio, yeah.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, in your initial presentation, you said something like you need 8 to 10 more lists. You could use 8 to 10 more lists?
8 to 10 more, excuse me?
Lifts.
No, I don't think I said that. I think I said maybe,
22.
You said you had 22 lifts
we have 22 lifts, right?
in that building you're in now.
Correct.
Did you put them in?
They were there before we got there.
There was 22 lifts in there.
Yeah. Within, maybe,
Well,
we might have put 1 or 2 in
I used
additional.
to get my
Yeah.
car inspected there with Ford, and I don't think there was 22 lifts in
Yeah,
there.
yeah, every spot, every workspace there, in fact, we have some spaces with no lifts.
My other question is, you're friendly with Mr. D, right?
Well, we bought the place from Mr. Delvecchio, yeah.
What would keep you from going across the street and putting your cars over across the street and using those lifts that's in that building
Well,
to
yeah.
keep your business going instead of building in Philadelphia?
So we had, well, a couple things. First thing, we had asked Jack Delvecchio several times if we could rent the place, even if it was temporarily, until he could sell it. He was looking for a substantial lot of money for the property. It's hard for us to maintain, you know, our property. It's very expensive, and that property is even more. The second thing is I can't. It's nearly impossible for me to fill the place with technicians. It's very, very difficult, and I'm finding it to be exactly opposite in Philadelphia. And it's really interesting because the technicians that work in Philadelphia, we're paying them less than they would if they came to Trooper. They don't want to drive an hour each way to work, which is, it's hard. I understand that, to make $5 or $6 an hour more, and we're happy to pay that. It's not the difference of, but I mean that we just simply can't get them. It's hard. It's very, very hard when we're talking about people that are traveling really more than 30 minutes, let alone an hour in the traffic every day, coming from the city to our location. It's really, really difficult to get somebody, to land somebody and keep them.
I kind of find kind of hard to keep hearing saying the reason why you're not successful is because you're at the end of the township. If you go to the other end of the township, Kaiser Miller's in there, and they're very successful.
Okay, we weren't saying we weren't successful because we were on the edge of the township.
That's what I keep hearing.
We were saying that we're saying that on the other side of the township, they're allowed to have a multicolored LED sign
You're talking West Norton.
on that side.
Well,
correct.
West Norton can do a lot of things we don't do, and we do a lot of things West Norton doesn't do. That's what the
Yeah.
Board of Supervisors do and the Board of Commissioners do.
Understand. I think our argument was that we're trying to show that the hardship is that if somebody can do it just on the other side of the street, and we can't do it, that's showing that there's hardship. And I would argue that, you know, Kaiser Miller runs a very nice business, and you know, it's also a very small Ford dealership in today's times. And I think if you went outside of Lower Providence Township, you'd have trouble if anybody recognized that name.
Anything else?
No, I believe that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone here on this application?
You gotta get.
Come on down, who's ever
Who's
first?
their hands up first? We have
And
those
if you
papers.
could, just, you don't have to fill it out right now as you're waiting, but you can introduce yourself, and you'll have to be sworn because I presume you're going to
Yes,
provide testimony.
thank you.
So, Paula?
I'm Maria Bruno, 107 Oakdale Avenue.
Will you speak in the microphone, please?
B-R-U-N-O,
There you go.
107 Oakdale Avenue. Maria, yes. Maria. Do I need to be sworn in or anything? Or? I do. So I do want to go on record for being party to the application in opposition of the variance request. I just have a couple questions and then a couple comments as well. The application here was dated 12/6. It was to be in the January board meeting. It has been pushed back to today, so 2 months. I've called the township multiple times, and they had never gotten a new application. Has the board, because obviously the residents haven't seen this until we're hearing this, and we haven't seen anything yet. I just don't understand, in reference to the board here, why the board wasn't even given the consideration to view what the plan was.
We only received the plan today. It was only created today.
But the application was dated 12/6. How could you do that without having any type of plan?
When we applied, we thought it would be much easier to get this plan done in time. That's why we had to request a continuance.
Okay. I also have, if I may, a list of signatures from residents in the area who oppose this as well, so I would like to put this as an exhibition if possible for the board.
Any objection?
I have not had a chance to review it, so.
Why don't you show Mr. Rabinovich what it looks like, and then...
Well, we haven't had a chance to review the plans either, so just for the record, do we have the opportunity to review that as well?
Yes, you can look at the plans. Do you have an extra copy there? Or you can have one of these.
Well, actually, I think all the neighbors actually kind of want that. If we could bring up the map of the area, because what I've heard this evening is that this will not impact the residents, but it will. If you look at where the property is located, the sign today does go directly into the houses of everyone along Clearfield Avenue, on both sides of the property, as well as I'm on Oakdale Avenue, and I can see the signs as well as the lights from your property. So I do disagree that the fact that this will not impact the residents.
Well, could you just, I
Do
mean...
you have the pointer
Yeah, do you
there?
have the pointer there? Can you just show us where you're
What
referring to?
you're talking about?
Is there any way to make it bigger? So all these houses right here on Clearfield,
Right.
if anyone were to go around that area, they would see that any of the signs go right into these properties, as well as I'm on Oakdale Avenue, and my backyard, I see everything that goes along in car vision. So unfortunately, it's not accurate to say that it does not impact any of the residents.
But what
As
do you
well
say
as-
you're seeing, though? You say you're seeing the sign, or are you seeing...
Oh, yes, I see the sign, I see the lights. I'm speaking for myself on Oakdale Avenue.
Right.
There are other residents here on Clearfield who can probably talk to that a little bit more. But just for general sake, if you understood where your property is located, you would see that it actually does impact the residents, as well as the residents on the lower block of
Put the
Oakdale.
pointer on that.
I'm sorry?
And on the sign.
The signs are right here along Ridge Pike. So everything just flows right back here, as well as some of the properties down here, they see it. It's very visible, you can see it at night. And I don't think, I mean, at least from my standpoint, I'm not objecting to this, but when I think about digital displays, I look at Penn National and see what they've done. Beautiful, they have a sign out, they have beautiful landscaping. You really can't see it from anywhere. That's not what's being proposed here tonight, at least from what I gather. So if we can engage in a dialogue where you put a sign in that is very aesthetically pleasing, won't go into the neighbors' properties, potentially with landscaping or screening, I think we'd be all for that. It would beautify the property. But that's not what we're hearing this evening. Would you be open to doing something like that?
Of course. So just, I think that just from what I'm hearing you say, I think that you're talking about another sign on the property that you can see from Oakdale Avenue. The one that we're talking about replacing for a similar sign, which would be smaller, we were talking about, is the one that's dead straight in front of the dealership, which should be blocked. There's if you can see, and I can show you on the map.
I know
Yep.
exactly which one you're talking about. The only things that we don't see on Clearfield and Oakdale are the ones that are actually attached to the building. Everything else, because of the way it's positioned, unfortunately can be seen into the residents' homes, like right in the living room and the bedrooms as well. So it is an issue, and if you drove around the property at night, you would see that as well.
Okay.
Another question that I have is, when will this light be on? This.
So we propose that it's going to be two different lights, two different brightnesses. That the light will be brighter in the daytime because when the sun's out, and At night, it turns to, what was it, 60 lumens or 30 lumens? 30 lumens.
And that would be 24/7?
Well, just, I don't think it, yes, and I don't think it would be any brighter than the current signs we have. So it would be
Okay,
the
but your
same.
application says that it would only be visible, it would be turned off at night. It would be only, and I quote this from the application itself, saying that the sign would only be on during business hours. So could you clarify that for the residents and the board?
Okay. Okay. We apologize about that. We want to make sure that we had the intention of having the sign, bright during business hours and dimmed during non-business hours, just like our current signs are today.
Is that in documentation for the board to approve this evening? Because the application doesn't say that.
We're going to amend the documentation.
So the light will be on at all hours, just at different brightness?
It'll be turned down so it doesn't bother anybody, correct?
Okay, so we talked about flashing versus moving. How frequent would the signage change? I'm not familiar with.
I'm pretty sure that the township has an ordinance right now for amber signs that change every so many seconds, so I'd be happy to stay within that ordinance.
45 seconds.
Every 25
So
seconds.
potentially this would
45.
change every
45.
45 seconds.
If it's up for 45 seconds or up for two, I don't think it makes a difference as long as it's not, if we're talking about impact, sure, we'd love it if it was flashing and bright and blinking. It would make the most impact, but we're not proposing that. We're proposing that the sign is going to be one message, and it'll change to another message, and it'll change to another message.
Okay, personally, I have a lot of questions, and I've heard a lot of conflicting things around the goal of the business, but I'd like to keep my comments directly towards the variance request tonight and this hardship that you're requesting from the board, because I'm really respectfully having difficulty understanding how being in Lower Providence is such a hardship for many of our residences as well as businesses. It is an honor to be part of Lower Providence, and in fact, when you talked about other similar businesses, right on the same block, we have Pep Boys, Jiffy Lube, and Firestone, all of which seem to have very steady business when you think about technicians and technical work, and their signage is all well within code. So I have trouble understanding how that can be a hardship. And also, you talked a lot around the change of the internet and using Monster.com and other venues for technicians as well as services. So I find that a little bit conflicting in terms of how I see this as a hardship, but that is for the board to respectfully consider. I do want to, as far as the light itself, there will be overflow into the residents' homes. There's no doubt about it. Most of the residents on this block have been there for 40-plus years, and never once before have we ever come before this board in terms of opposition. So I think we've been overall very flexible with the businesses that have been in the township in this area. This is a gateway to our community. It's not the end of the property. It's the beginning of Lower Providence. And if we allow a variance for this, we're opening the door for other variances. So I strongly encourage the board to think about, I mean, I have the whole beautification of the west end of Ridge Pike in the zoning district, and nowhere do I see things like this. So when I look at what our model should be for that area, it's things like Penn National and Commerce Bank, where they've really done a great job of adding a lot of greenery and things like that. It's not digital flashing signs. So I strongly encourage the board to think about the beautification of this corridor, especially as it's the gateway of the community, let alone it flashing into the neighborhood. And then just one other thing is, I talked about this in terms of if there is something that you might want, would you be open to working with the township in terms of beautifying the property, in terms of any type of landscaping or putting something within the code?
So of course, we don't have any problem doing landscaping, but one of the things I think is when we came to the property, we did additional landscaping in as much as there's a green area. There was an area that used to be parking.
It's the paver patio area that
Yep,
you put in.
yep.
I know exactly what you're talking
A little
about.
fountain there and whatnot.
Yes, and that's the one area that is beautified, and that's about it. But I think out of goodwill with some of the other companies in the neighborhood, Wawa in particular came in front of the board and did some work there and beautiful landscaping.
So we certainly want to make sure that we keep a very good look and good curb presentation. And, you know, I'd be happy to look at doing additional landscaping, obviously. Uh, it's a paved lot right now, and it's hard for us to, you know, carve out additional spots on the paved lot to put additional landscaping. There are some things that I could do, for example, where the sign's going, where we could put planters in, right, where that sign is, and make it look
We're
nicer.
not talking about planners, we're talking about screening for the neighbors. With all due respect, you have a lot of cars on that property, and looking at L. Langford and then looking at Ford, we've never had so many cars on that property, let alone the overflow in the back. So unless you're willing to work with us, I can't see it happening, and it's not planners, it's talking about screening and beautification. Again, that's for the board to consider as they grant you this variance, if they do. The other thing, and I'll just leave with this because I know there's other neighbors that want to talk as well, is when we think about the goodwill of Car Vision, I've heard a lot this evening in terms of what a good business partner you are. While overall that may be the case, you've been in Judge Rebar's court twice over lighting variances. Is that not correct?
Yes, and I think we prevailed in both cases.
But the township had to actually order you to court twice.
No,
So
I don't think
I
that's-
don't think
I don't
it's
think
correct
that's
to say that
accurate.
you've, I'm
I
sorry?
don't think that's accurate.
Okay. I think that's all on public record. We can look at that as well.
I think, right, but we can, if we get ordered to court and the court says that your lighting's fine, then I think that that's what, you know, they asked us in one case to turn our light, and we did. I mean, we just turned the light down.
But you were in Judge Rebar's court twice for that. So I don't think it's safe to say that that could have been alleviated had you had listened to the residents. You never would have gone to court or wasted the taxpayer dollars. As well as there's been issues with snow removal. The township has had to come with snow being pushed onto Clearfield, and the township has asked you to rectify that. So there's a lot of issues that when you come in front of the township asking for variances, these are the things that, when we look at our neighbors and our business partners, these are the things that we value.
So-
And while you're saying that, it's very hard to see these words being put in action. So I think that's important for the board to consider as they look to grant you this variance.
So obviously, we understand, everybody can understand how much snow there was in the past month, the past few months. And any snow removal that landed up on Clearfield, we cleaned off the street. In addition to that, there is no snow removal across the street because the building's vacant. You know,
I'm sorry, we're not talking across the street. We're talking about
Right, I understand
Clearfield
that.
Avenue and
I understand
residences.
that.
So just a little bit of perspective, when we talk about good business partners and citizens within the township, that's a bit of a stretch, with all due respect. But again, that is for the board to consider. But I strongly encourage you to think about this hardship, because again, if it is such a hardship, then why are you in Lower Providence to begin with? I mean, it should be a privilege, and you should want to work with the township and make it beautiful.
So it's interesting that you say that, because when I'm selling cars to people that live far away from Lower Providence Township and they have to drive into Lower Providence Township, they're coming mostly from the city of Philadelphia or from more populated areas, it's a drive. And there's some things that we have here which are very good. You know, we have a good facility, we have a good building, we have a good place to sell cars. It's very, very hard for me to keep, we talk about it over and over again, to hire technicians for the shop.
Well, just another question along those lines. You say you have 100 technicians. At any given point in time, how many are working?
No, I didn't say I had 100 technicians, I said we had 100 employees.
You said 100 technicians. Okay,
I
that's
did not
fine.
say
So
that.
out of the 100 employees, how many do you have on the premises at any given point in time? Is all
There's,
100?
I mean, during
I would
business
imagine
hours,
with
we're
22
almost.
bays, there's probably a good amount of people there.
Sure.
Where do they park?
We have a parking lot that we designate across the street.
Okay. Do you anticipate that increasing as in demand, as you hire more technicians? I would imagine that there would be a greater need for parking.
So we also have a lot down the street that we park additional cars in the opposite township. But we're also talking about trying to maintain the amount of employees that we have. We're not talking about, we're not really talking about, there could be a few more technicians, so we understand that, because we also took a bunch of technicians away for the other locations. But in order for me to maintain the current work staff, I have to figure out a way to bring in some kind of business.
No, and I would imagine that as a business owner, but I just think about, when you think about this sign and a variance for hardship, it sounds like you might need a broader marketing strategy. I just don't think that this digital flashing sign is actually going to turn your business around. But,
So-
and I'm not a marketing expert.
Right, I understand. What we say is that this is one of the things that we're going to be doing to try to help a new
Alleviate
strategy.
your hardship, okay.
Right.
May I give the signatures to the board respectfully?
Sure.
only object to the extent that it's hearsay.
And
Are you gonna mark it?
Yes, but we would leave that to discretion of the board.
Well, I think that the objection is accurate. These people are not here. We can't cross-examine or ask them questions, so it would be hearsay.
We can't accept it.
Actually, some of them are here. Some of them, because of, again, some of these neighbors have been here 50-plus years, they're elderly, and given the weather conditions, they were not able to make it. Others, because of their jobs, were not able to make it. Again, had we had more information prior, maybe we could have gotten a little bit more. I was actually holding out, we were all holding out to try and get more information, but the township said they didn't get anything in terms of what the specifications were for
Right.
the variance, so that was part of this as well. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. But this you can have back, I'm sorry. This list you can have back. I mean, if there are other people here who want to voice their
Well, can't we-
opposition,
I don't understand why we can't include that as an exhibit.
because it's hearsay.
Well,
So-
can't you check with the ones that you testify, keep that and then cross it?
So, she said some of them are.
Well, they can introduce themselves and let us know. So.
Mary Clayboss, Clayboss, 7 Clearfield Avenue.
Okay,
I do.
good.
Hi, I just want to let you know, I am one of the neighbors that is affected by the light and the signage. I live at 7 Clearfield Avenue, and, does this work? All right. There we go. 7, I'm not sure if you can see it, it's right here. And right here used to be 8 Clearfield Avenue that was taken over first by Langford and now by Car Vision. And
She was.
it is in direct vision with the sign. I can stand or sit in my front living room and see that sign, clear as day. It doesn't bother me right now because it's a sign, it's a static, it's something I got used to. But a sign that's going to be continually moving, especially in, you want to have your windows open, you want to have your drapes drawn, summer. You don't want that distraction constantly, especially, again, it's my living room, and then my bedroom's on the second floor. So when you said that it doesn't affect, there's only restaurants and other businesses in the area, I took offense to that, I'm sorry, because there are people that live at 5 Clearfield, 7 Clearfield, 9 Clearfield, that because of the way it is sloped, if everybody remembers, the building sits a little lower than the street level. I don't know exactly how much, but it is not street level. The sign is street level. The building is sloped. And so when everything else is there, that sign is visible. And I did take notice. I was in my living room and I could see that sign. Now, you say it's 16 feet. You want to have another 16-foot sign. I'm going to have that same problem right in my living room. And so is 5 and so is 9 because it's right there. Never had any problems with Langford, never had any problems with Car Vision. I know you have your lights, I know you have to make, a living. I understand that, it's a business. But a sign that moves constantly is going to be a distraction. And so, bring it lower,
Wait, what if the sign was lower and it moved?
bring it lower, out of eye level. As Maria said, comply with the ordinances. Make a little beautification, as she said, and I think she put it admirably. It is the gateway to Lower Providence. We are trying. I know you are trying. I've lived in that house since I was 4 years old. So I have seen the changes that have come from Ridge Pike. I have seen when Langford was 3 farmhouses that were raised, and then Langford was put up. I saw that Wawa was a house. I've seen the changes. And for years, they were eyesores. But now I see that the township is trying to make it beautiful, trying to make that corridor, as with Commerce Bank, as with Penn National, as with Wawa, adding some greenery. We need to present Lower Providence in a good way. And the sign, if it came lower, and if it was, up to code or up to the ordinances, had some beautification, I don't think the neighbors would mind. But, don't have it up there flashing in our faces. Again, not flashing, but moving. Every 45 seconds will be a distraction. And again, we just want to keep Lower Providence growing and going in the right direction. And again, I would love you to have a successful business. Everybody needs to have a successful business. But everybody needs to follow the rules and take into consideration your neighbors. Because you know what? The neighbors are going to be there for you when you need it, one way or the other. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Questions?
No.
Hi, Antoinette Bruno. I live on 9 Greatfield Avenue.
I didn't hear what her name was.
I know. Okay, I have one question. I have one question. You say you don't have no problem with the neighbor? 2 years ago, I finished last year. I went across the street, complained because the light, it wasn't come in my bedroom. I can sleep, I can see the light on my face. So, I went across the street. I asked one guy, I said, I can talk to the manager? He said, he's in the back, I called. So, the guy came, I explained whatever. You know what he told me? Pull the shit's down. I leave. I came this country in 1963. I don't have no problem before. I don't have a problem you guys need. They did something to the light. And your manager told, yeah, we move something. So for make short, no one make it longer, the township to sue you guys. They came 2 times in court. He lost. After they told him to fix the light, he pulled the light down. Now, we have enough light, like Mary said, you know, where I live, I have the house that tall. I can see the light. I can see the sign. I don't care. They don't bother me, the sign there. No. Once you put the sign, you say, I can sleep in the night because the light and the night, I sit on the sofa, I see the light. You like having your house like that? You understand me?
I think I'm understanding you. What I think was that if there was light that was going in your house,
That's right.
And that problem was addressed, I'm assuming.
It was the light, the kind of vision.
Okay, but
He never did nothing for me.
excuse me.
He never did something. He not told me, yeah, I'm gonna fix the light. He told me the police that belong to Low Providence Township, they say, they come here, we have a problem. The kids, they steal the pot. So I came to the township. I went downstairs to the police station, and I was through. And I was through that.
The
So-
court reporter, ma'am, she couldn't pick it up. The
Oh.
court reporter can't pick it up.
Thanks. So, they told the township. He said, no, it's not true. I went back to him, and he said to me, I'd do something. He never did nothing. They came 3 times on my house. they took the photo, my bedroom, they sit on the top of my bed, and can see the light where they was coming from. So after all that, we went 2 times at the court. And you know what he told me? He said to me, about time Mrs. Bruno is supposed to start to be nice neighbor. You know, nice neighbor. We try to do nice neighbor to you guys.
So I apologize if you had light that was going on
I
your...
apologize for
Okay.
nothing. No, so you want to put it, I don't bother me the light, like Mary say. As you put them light, you say,
I think...
it bad, because I have a 4-bedroom home upstairs. And 2, then the front, the side, your place. As you put that light,
So I understand that we had a complaint or 2 about the lighting, and I understand that we also tried to address the lighting by turning the lights down. I understand that several years later, you know, we've been here again 7 years, so we haven't changed the lighting on the property. I understand that several years later, we went to our general manager went to the local district.
yeah, with the
And-
Apple
and I think that-
I don't know what they call that.
I don't think that turning the lights down was an issue, and I think we addressed that and turned the lights down. You know, in terms of thefts on the property, we've had sometimes, you know, every once in a while, every few months, someone steals the wheels off a car or steals a car off of our property.
That's not my
It
problem.
happens.
My problem, it wasn't the light.
I understand. I understand.
You understand that.
But
I'll-
can I ask you a question? Was
What?
your lighting problem, was that lighting problem addressed at this time? Is the
what-
lighting problem addressed at this time?
No, we heard, but the sign, I know.
But I'm just, you were complaining about the lighting from several years ago. I just wanted to understand
No,
if
it
the
was 2
lighting
years ago.
Okay, so
We
it's been
finished.
addressed.
But
Okay.
The light, they
It's
broke
resolved,
now.
though, is what his question is it resolved, the lighting?
The light, they fixed the light.
That's fixed it, okay.
And they fixed the light
Okay.
now. You say you
He's
dead
worried
for
this
70
one's
years.
gonna blink it.
I live over there for 48 years. And we don't have no problem like the people that before. We don't have no problem like the neighbor. I
Yeah.
don't have no problem with you guys.
I don't, and I appreciate that. I just, we haven't changed the lighting up or down, you know, so what I want to make sure is that obviously maybe if the wind moved it or something like that,
No,
we can address that for you.
Mary Jane he said up the, what do you call it, the court, what do you call it? He said, yeah, we changed the light. I don't know, say they put bright light or big light. I don't know what they did. Because I don't have no
But
problem.
Mrs. Bruno,
with it.
I don't want to cut you off, but you've been very, very
Yeah,
good
I
at
know.
expressing
Well,
yourself. And we understand that part of it, which is very helpful, so thank you. But the lighting problem has been resolved,
Oh, yeah,
correct?
the light that is on.
You're
now.
concerned about the sign
I don't blink the sign
changing,
now.
and you'll be able to
I
see
know
it.
they keep the sign, they have now.
So the one thing that we don't want to have happen is, it's Mrs. Bruno?
Yes, Mrs.
So,
Bruno.
Mrs. Bruno, the one thing that we don't want to have happen is neighbors coming on and complaining and bringing us back to the district justice office or whatever the office is called.
I know did.
Right,
The-
right.
The
So-
township
Township did, right.
The
Okay,
township
okay.
did. And they don't have nothing.
No, but
to do
the last
with
thing we want to have is anybody complaining. I mean, we want to do everything we can to fix an issue. You know, last week, we talked to a neighbor about some of the snow, and I addressed his issue. And we're going to also go back and address an issue about he said that there was a fence that might have been damaged during, when we were doing snow removal. So obviously, so stuff happens, we're going to try to address those issues, and I'm going to be on top of that. When things happen, we can address those things, and I want to make sure that there's no, obviously there is no more light that goes on your property, and we apologize if that happened in the past.
That's right. But the light, they have to, but the sign, they have to decide what they do.
Right.
I'm sorry it takes so long.
No,
I'm
you were,
fine. I don't
you were
understand.
fine.
No,
You were
it's
fine.
very, yeah.
You were fine. Thank you for your
Thanks.
input.
Thank you. Who's next?
Anyone else?
Back there? Yep. Who's this?
Good evening. My name's Donnie Thomas. I live at 19 North Trooper Road. I do. I do. I don't live on Clearfield Avenue, but I do live behind Norristown Ford on Trooper Road. And I can see your sign now from my backyard. Luckily, it's not from my bedroom window. I had many years of Norristown Ford's lights in my windows. And I want to start by saying that CarVision's been a great business to have in the community. You guys, you know, taken, we lost 2 car dealerships within months, and, you know, it's nice to have the lot used. I'm living next to the empty one.
Thank you, thank you.
That being said, I don't think this is a good idea for the obvious reasons. Keith, you had said that you know, that may be the wave of the future, but I don't think it's the wave of the future for that section of Ridge Pike and what we want the township to look like. I would seriously urge you to consider the neighbor's proposal of doing something a little less intensive, lower, not 16 feet in the air, landscaped. I know you're going to lose parking spots to do something like that. I've been driving up and down Ridge Pike my whole life. I've been here since I was 7. I've lived in that house since I was 7. And that kind of sign can be very distracting. And we really haven't spoken to the issue yet about how it's going to change every 25 seconds. Sometimes a change is not this goes down and this goes up, but it rolls and it flips and the whole image changes, and it can be very active in the way that it changes. And that's very eye-catching, but that is a very dangerous section of Ridge Pike, especially with the traffic coming out of Clearfield and the traffic that backs up in the morning. Sadly, I can remember people being struck down trying to cross there because there's technically no pedestrian crossing there. So we have the ordinance. It precludes this type of sign, and if you could strike a compromise for the sign, this type of sign that's a little more in character with the community, I think that'd be great. But I really haven't had a chance to even see exactly what's being proposed, so it's okay.
We apologize about that. I think what the issue is that I think a lot of people, change is difficult for everybody. We understand that, and you know, I appreciate, by the way, the great things you said about us. We always like that when somebody says nice things about us. What I think that we're proposing is, you know, we have a yellow and red sign on the property, which is, it's a bright sign anyhow. And I think we're proposing a similar sign, just something that changes the message. And I don't think it's one of the things that people are talking about, distractions and whatnot. But we see this every day. And today, if you go past the Plymouth Meeting Mall, if you go over on Ridge Pike and you see over by the Panera Bread, over, I don't know what area that's called, but there's quite a few LED signs on that strip, and I think they're moving and they're flashing and they're doing all kinds of things. The one by the mall doesn't, I know that, and I don't think it's a distraction for traffic. I think there's also one down the street, a new one and I think if you can, the old Gennardi's has where the farmers market is. They put an LED sign up, and I don't think it distracts from anything. People go by, they can see what's for sale there. You know, and that place frankly needs it because you know, with the dying supermarket there, they have to make a go at something. But I think if you can use an example like that as we drive by, it really doesn't distract from anything.
But the fact of the matter is that there is an ordinance that restricts that, and if the ordinance is not what you like, then you have to go through the process to change that ordinance. And that's what I think Mr. Thomas is referring to, is that we have an ordinance that we have to follow. And I hear what you're saying in terms of maybe it's not as bad as we thought it was when the ordinance was passed. Obviously, we thought it was bad when the ordinance was passed for some reasons, and I wasn't there for when it was passed, but it was passed for reasons such as aesthetics, such as the distraction, such as the safety issue, and I presume other reasons. But we have an ordinance? How do we ignore the ordinance?
We're talking about the two things that we talked about earlier, and I don't, for me, we're talking about the hardship of loss of business to try to gain business, and we're talking about the hardship of a township directly next door that can allow those signs. And that's what we're here. That's your
hardship
argument.
argument.
Yep.
Understood.
Well, you'll have to judge that. I personally, I don't think that's a strong enough argument. Looking at the rendering, finally getting to see it, you're right, it's not that intense, but I do have some experience with these LED signs, and at night, they're even turned down, they're a beacon, and if they can be seen from residential properties, they say they can from where they are, it can be quite annoying.
So the other thing that when we spoke to the sign people is that there's an automatic sensor on the sign that as it gets darker, the sign dims, and so that it's not on a timer. It doesn't. Yeah.
My personal opinion is you haven't. Unfortunately, you haven't made the hardship argument. Can I ask you a question? You said you had. Thank you. You had some of your employees park across the street.
Right. At the parking lot across the street.
And that lot is that part of the Norristown Ford lot?
It's that between that and the Commerce lot. Yeah.
Okay. I just wonder how that works out, because I don't understand. Is that something that Jack's okay with? Or?
Yeah, we have a deal with the Commerce lot, park of cars there.
So part of the Commerce lot was that shared lot with Norristown Ford. They had a certain number of spaces shared, and that's where you're at?
Yes.
Okay. I was just curious. I'm not accusing anybody or anything. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
time.
Anyone else?
So the other thing is obviously there's all kinds of concessions that we're going to make. One of the things we can do is simply turn the sign off after we close. Which
Any other questions, comments?
Currently we don't turn that sign off after we close.
It's always on. Anybody else? Anything? Go ahead. Come on up.
Well, can I go back up?
Please.
Again, Maria Bruno, 107 Oakdale Avenue. Again, hearing what I heard from 9 Clearfield, 7 Clearfield, and the others, you close at 9, 10 o'clock at night. You still have issues of people sitting in their homes and as Don has said, the beacon coming through. So while we can appreciate that, you still have the issue of the evening hours, and everyone works a full day and they want to relax in the evening. So again, I don't think the issue is the lighting as it is today, but it's this notion of this LED revolving type light at the height that it is, and the variance request. So I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I think we should take this under advisement. Yeah.
Is it?
All right.
Moot point, isn't it it's kind of a moot point?
Are we going to take a break before the next
Yes.
one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're not making any decision
We'll
on
make
this.
about 10 minutes.
You're going to take it under advisement?
Yeah, we're going to take this under advisement. All right. The board's going to take a 10-minute break and take this under advisement. What's on?
I don't think they
I
heard you,
think-
Nancy.
Say that?
They didn't hear you.
Oh, it was on.
You're a very light speaker.
The board is going to take a 10-minute break and take this under advisement.
I don't think
I don't think we'll make a decision tonight.
correct.
So
Or if
have-
we make a decision, it'll be after everyone's finished, so we don't hold the other applicant up.
Right, because we have another applicant on the agenda. So what time is it, 9:15? And we'll take a 10-minute break, okay?
Thank you, everyone.
Executive meeting. He waved to me, Tom.
Yeah, he's good. Yep.
Yes, and now we'll go back to our agenda.
They have a request
Oh,
to
okay.
make, sounds like.
we would just request a continuance until the next month so we could try to work with the local residents, try to maybe come up with a compromise where all parties are happy.
I'll make a motion for no.
Wait a minute.
What's the residents' perspective?
Well, they approached us why you went into executive session. I can't speak for everyone else, but from my perspective, any discussions should be had with the board. So happy to have the conversations, but that's driven by the board, not us, but.
Well, I think that the request is whether you folks can talk in the interim to come up with a solution theoretically to address your concerns. And that would mean that the record would be preserved, but you folks would have an opportunity to discuss it between now and the next meeting, when we could obviously see where you were. If you don't have it resolved, we could render a decision. Maria's shaking her head that she doesn't want
That's
that.
just, they're requesting a variance, and the variance is the variance, so I just don't see how that can be, moving it, they're still going to request a variance.
We could potentially,
I can't speak for the rest of the residents, that's just me.
we could potentially look to move the sign closer to the building so it doesn't go into other people's windows. We could potentially resurvey it. We'd have to talk with some architects, of course.
See, one of the issues that I see is the fact that if theoretically we make a decision tonight and it's denied, and then they go back and they want to talk to you about it, and then when they come back, they have to pay another filing fee. And it's not as if I'm trying to deny the township some reimbursement for the costs of everyone here, but if we're trying to be business friendly, which I think the township is trying to be, then we would try and avoid that unnecessary cost. So my suggestion is that perhaps you do have the dialogue, because dialogue is always good. If you don't think it's going to be fruitful, then maintain your opposition. That's just my opinion. It's not the opinion of the board, it's my opinion. If you can work something out to address your concerns, great. If you can't, you can't. But I don't think that 30 days is going to kill you. Now, I'm probably flying in the face of the board members with what they want to do, but that's just my suggestion. So,
I'm happy to speak for myself, I can't speak for the rest of the neighbors.
right, and I appreciate that.
But from my standpoint, I understand, I mean, we've also wasted tax dollars with CarVision in the past by us being the friendly neighbor and going to them with issues. Not me personally, other neighbors, and we wasted taxpayer dollars by going in front of Judge Rebar's court twice, because the township took them to court. So if we go down this mutual discussion road, we'll have to get attorney representation at this point. So it's going to cost us as neighbors. So I would ask the board to consider that as well. You're also looking at a variance where you're setting a precedent for future companies that come in front of the board as well, and the gateway to the community. So there's multiple things for the board to consider. So,
I'm not suggesting that the decision that you would reach would be that you would be in support of a variance for this particular sign. What I'm suggesting is that perhaps if you got together, you could mutually work up a acceptable sign that could go in there that wouldn't necessarily have a variance component to it.
well, then wouldn't that be a planning commission thing then? And again, we
No.
have to get, I mean, I personally would
No.
want legal representation, so that would be a cost to me as a taxpayer. So that's just my opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just the one thing that you mentioned a minute ago was that Lower Providence Township is known as a business-friendly township. Is known as a place that, you know, when we moved into our property, we shook hands with Jack Del Vecchio and moved in and opened in 45 days. That is, it's unheard of in any other township. The township worked with us, and they're known, to me, they're known as a business-friendly township. And I think that, that's something that is a real positive thing. That being said,
You don't have to tell us that. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to convince them
Right.
is the issue.
that being said, you know, we'd love to have a discussion with the neighbors if there's an issue about where to put the sign, and not just where to put the sign, but maybe what the sign looks like. Maybe your presentation today was with what you guys might have considered a surprise with the paperwork was a little fast, and if we can put another presentation together and show we were also thinking that at the evening, the lighting in the evening would be actually less bright than the current sign today at 30 looms. And we were going to go back and test the current sign and show you what the lighting would be in the next meeting, as we were hoping to have that opportunity to do that.
Well, that to me is different. That's a second bite at the apple, and I don't think that that's what we're trying to accomplish, or at least what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm just trying to accomplish people getting together if they can. If you can't, that's the way it is.
Okay.
It doesn't sound like you can, so.
I don't think that we need to get representation for the neighbors. I think that we can sit down and talk about the sign.
Pleasure of the board.
I'll put a motion on the floor. I'll put a motion on the floor that we deny application Z 1401 because it doesn't meet the standard for variance.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second. Any question on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, well, we're sorry about your decision. I think what I said a few minutes ago, I'm not sure if that still exists, but maybe we'll reapply and we'll try again the right way and try to get the
Right.
and try to get the sign up and try to get the pictures up and the application so you guys can see it ahead of time.
Thanks.
A suggestion, when you drive out the driveway, look at the township sign. It's quite visible, quite readable, and it's amber.
Yeah,
Just a, thank you.
I understand.
Okay. All right. Now we have to go to our next item,
They've been so patient.
if anybody's here.
Thank you.
Okay. We have item Z 1402. Did you read one?
I did.
Okay.
Want to read another one?
Kathy, do you want to read it?
I can't.
You can't? You want my glasses?
I wasn't here. Accolade Properties, 5th Street, Norristown, PA, 19401. Applicant is requesting a variance from section 143-37, requesting relief from the R2 minimum lot requirement of 30,000 square foot to 14,000 square foot, section 143-37, requesting relief from R2 minimum lot width required of 150 foot to 140 foot, section 143-37, requesting relief from R2 minimum front yard setback from 50 feet to 30 feet, section 143-37, requesting relief from R2 minimum rear yard setback from 60 feet to 34 feet. The parcel IDs of the subject properties are 4300-0465-4001, 4300-046-48-007, 4300-04651-004, and 4300-04657-007. Subject properties are currently zoned R2.
Thank you.
Like I was doing bingo.
Yeah. Okay, who do we have? Oh, there he is.
We meet again.
Yes, I'm back. I will try to keep it extremely short here. I'm Matt Pusey, P as in Peter, U-S-E-Y. I'm the president of Accolade Properties. We had been in front of the board last month, requested a continuance. If you want, I can go through the whole background again, but I think we hopefully have an idea of why we're here again. The last time, basically, we had some opposition over essentially a miscommunication in what they were trying to resolve. We have a letter that I believe the board hopefully has a letter from Mr. Raschuti, who was the lawyer that was opposing it originally. He is now in support of it and has also notified in the letter that the neighbors that were originally in opposition are also in support of it.
But before you go on, Mr. Pusey, I'm sorry.
Yes.
You did allude to the continuance, and you did agree at that point in time to the continuance and to a waiver of the municipality's planning code section with respect to the time to render a decision to this meeting, 45 days from tonight's meeting for a decision to be rendered. Is that correct?
Yes, it did.
And you're alluding to a letter dated February 26, 2014, from Francis Riccuti, an attorney in Norristown, Pennsylvania, who was here the last time we had a hearing, which was in January. He represents the Millers, who opposed the application at that point in time. We are in receipt of that letter, and for your purposes, I will mark it as applicant's exhibit. I'm not sure the number, but we'll figure that out based upon what was presented the last time, and we'll just have a continuation of that. Other than that, is there anything new that you want to produce? You don't have to go through the whole background. If there's something new that you want to introduce, please do so.
The only thing, trying to keep this short, not going into the background on the surrounding properties and so forth, because we could spend, too much time on that. Essentially, one of the things you guys had asked for before is what's the house going to look like? We do have a letter from the township as well, who reviewed it. Unfortunately, I didn't have that copy before the last meetings, and I believe you guys probably did. So one of the things that they had asked about was the size of the property, the size of the home, meeting stormwater requirements, and combining the lots in a legal description. And all those requirements, we are happy to comply with. The board had also asked about the look of the house. I have a front elevation plan that I would like to provide to the board, just to show you the general idea of the home. We're building a similar house in the township right now with a similar front elevation. This is not going to be the exact house because we essentially have to design it around the footprint, but it's a similar style house that we've been building. We feel it's going to fit the nature of the neighborhood. And ultimately, we have an undersized lot that we're looking to develop, fit the character of the neighborhood, which will only increase the marketability of the neighborhood and bring up the value of the land in the area and bring some revenue to the township. So, may I present this to the board?
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So, other than that, really, I believe the issue last time has been resolved. If there's any questions from the board, I'd be happy to answer anything that we discussed last time, any new questions you might have.
Any questions from the
I have
board?
no questions.
Sure.
Nancy, you have any questions?
No, I don't have any right now. I was looking at this plan from our last meeting. What's the size of this house?
We're going to keep the house around 2,100 to 2,300 square feet of living space, of living square footage. Now, when I was here last time, I had said up to around 2,600 square feet. The footprint that you saw on our building envelope was a house that would be around 2,555. It's just another house that we had. It fit the envelope. As you can see, we have plenty of width there, so we could certainly make it wider and fill the envelope. Even if we didn't go as deep, we could certainly make it bigger. The letter that I received from the township, one of the requirements was keeping it within the nature of the neighborhood, which is a slightly smaller house. So we're happy to comply with that, and I think what we'll end up with is somewhere around 2,100 to 2,300 square feet of living space.
Keith, we didn't get that letter, did we?
No, not that I'm aware of.
We do not have that letter that you're referring to from the township, so,
Okay.
um,
I can present a copy, I believe. It was.
but we do understand you're saying whatever was contained therein you will comply with, but
Rachel, did you write the letter? Please refer. Okay.
Can I present?
Sure.
Oh, this was from before.
Yes, prior to our first meeting. I actually did not receive the letter in the mail until after that meeting, so,
I do have a copy of that letter. My apologies. I didn't know this is what the letter was you were referring to.
and I'd realized after the meeting that some of the questions were specific to some of those requirements.
Question I have is, and you may have to refresh my memory, and I apologize for it being flawed or faulty, but you want to put this on a lot that is 60 feet wide, is that right?
140 feet wide. There's, I believe there's five or six tax parcel numbers that are being combined. It's going to be 100.
four.
Okay, say four tax parcels. It's going to be a total of 140 feet wide by 100 feet deep. So a total of 14,000 square feet. Clearly an undersized lot. And in my application, I had commented about the surrounding properties being undersized as well. I did do some tax research and have some information on that if it pleases the board. But I believe, if you go through that entire area, you're going to find a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are undersized lots and also require, they wouldn't meet the depth requirements, they wouldn't meet the width requirements, and they certainly wouldn't meet the lot size requirements.
We can talk.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I'm looking at these letters now, and they're different. There's one dated January 20th, addressed to the zoning hearing board, and there's one dated January 21st, addressed to me. I had the one in my file that was addressed to the zoning hearing board, but I didn't have the one in my file addressed to me, which is kind of interesting. I presume they say the same thing. They look like they say the same thing.
But those items would have to be included in any zoning variance.
Okay.
Keith, John Reese, isn't he the solicitor?
He is.
How did he get this stuff so fast? I mean, they just swore him
He
in.
was just sworn in. Wasn't there for 3
He was
weeks.
sworn in January.
I don't know the answer to that question, other than the fact that it was probably presented to him and he acted upon it. Okay. So, from your perspective, you would comply with what the township's parameters set forth in these letters would be. And this is your copy, so I don't want to keep it from you, but I do want to try and get a copy of it. Rachel, there's nothing in your file that has this? Could you? I just need one. I don't know if everybody wants one.
Yeah, we should all have one.
Well,
Okay.
if you could.
Okay.
You didn't see it at all?
No, I saw this one, but I didn't see the one addressed to me, which is interesting. But anyway,
Well, who answered it?
It wasn't an answer.
Wasn't answered?
No.
No? Oh, I thought you said
No.
something. You didn't answer it.
no.
There's
Okay,
someone-
so it's 100 and
40 wide
40 wide,
by 100 deep.
100 deep.
And it's 30,000 square foot requirement and 14,000 square feet. 50 feet required, 30 feet high.
There is one here, but I don't know if it's in the numbers.
Yeah, doesn't say the width. Yes.
Well, it
Mr. Fusi,
doesn't.
when you did the square foot estimate of the house, did you include the garage portion?
For which, if you look at that plan.
This elevation?
No,
So it's just the living space, not the garage?
that's correct.
So it's another
Approximately 400 square feet of non-living space.
going across the front?
Well, it's going to be, the house is going to be, in the envelope of the building footprint, there'll be approximately 400 square feet that would be the garage, which is typical of any house of that size, scope, or
So
nature.
it's 20, 40,
Thank you.
60, 80. This garage is usually 40 across. So it's 40, 50 foot across.
Do we have a sketch plan or a drawing as to where you think it's going to end up in the building envelope, or?
That's essentially, that footprint that I presented with the application is where we are proposing it to be within the envelope.
Right,
To the
okay.
right side of the building envelope, just because of the way, of the nature of the land sloping a little bit from right to left.
And so the first floor that's indicated there, and that hard line, you're going to bring it off of that? The dotted line's going to come off of that?
Off to the right-hand side?
Well, if I'm facing it to the left-hand side,
Okay.
that's what you're proposing to go out, to go within the setback?
That's correct. So it's going to be on the right-hand side of the proposed buildable footprint.
And when you bought these lots, or when you put it, you're the equitable owner, as I recall.
Correct.
You recognized that there was a problem, I suspect, when you were looking to buy. That's why you made a condition upon this approval.
That's correct. We realized that it was an undersized lot and that it would need a variance to be built upon.
So, yeah, so the hardship is that you're buying a property that you can't put that size of a house on, so you want to try and get a variance in order to fit that kind of a house.
Yeah, I represent the Tabors, who are also here as well. Whether I purchase it or if they try to build it themselves, it's impossible to build any size house because of the required setback. If you just do the math, the front yard is 50, the rear yard is 60. That's 110 feet right there alone. The property is only 100 feet deep. So, yeah, the hardship is whoever tries to build on this cannot build on it without a variance. So, I'm representing as an equitable owner.
Are all the lots that they back up to, that would then front on 4th Street, are they all lots that have houses on them? Are any of those lots vacant?
That back up to the property,
Yes.
they are not directly behind the property. They are not. They are vacant if you look at the overhead.
That's a good image there. Right.
Those properties in question are, those properties in question that you're asking about are actually owned by the Millers, who are supporting this variance by that letter that was submitted by their lawyer.
So, okay, so you have your pointer there? Can you show us which ones that you're referring to?
Is there a trick here to turn this on? All right, so. All right, so right around, I want to say from this line here, all the way up around here is owned by the Millers, if I'm correct.
Okay.
So what you're referring to behind here is owned by the Millers. That would be the property in question. they are here in support through the lawyer's recommendation. Their lawyer's what we had, the issue that we had was resolved with them. So hopefully that answers your
But they
question.
have no structures on those parcels.
They, I believe, not directly behind it. There is a continuous piece of land here that they own, and there is a property on that. There is a home on that.
Have you approached them about acquiring those properties and to making this?
I did not approach them. However, part of the issue that we had last time we were here was about a deal with another piece of land for them to acquire from the Tabor. So I just assumed that there was not a desire for them to sell any other piece of land.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Joyce?
No. I appreciate more information, though. Thank you.
So even if you acquired more property from the Millers, let's hypothetically, one way, long way, or width-wise, you'd have to do both ways in order for it to fit, it seems to me, right?
And we would have to gain an extra 16,000 square feet. We'd have to get 160 square feet, 160 of width.
No matter what size house you put on there.
That's correct, to meet some of the requirement. And then I believe then we're turning theirs into an undersized lot at that point.
Okay.
I know you can't speak for the Millers, but if you get the approval on this 4-lot subdivision, and the Millers got 4 lots directly behind you, what could keep them from coming in and saying, okay, fine, you approved those 4 undersized lots up above me, I want the 4 lots below me approved too? What's going to keep him from doing that?
Well, I would say nothing, but
Thank
it
you.
is,
No, that's
it is only one house, so it's not, we're not talking about a 4-lot
I
subdivision.
understand, thank you.
But there is I believe, as part of the agreement, there is an easement that's going to go through the back of one of those properties. So technically, part of that property wouldn't be able to be built on anyways. Can I call you up? You want me to call you up?
Excuse me, this is Mr. Miller, if you need to speak to him directly. He is here.
Which one's Mr. Miller?
Would you like me to call
Right
him?
there.
I'm just saying, he's here. If-
Well, if you want to bring him up as part of your case, you're welcome to do that.
Do you want to speak up as we have?
He said no, he's not.
Okay. Anything else you want to add?
I said enough last meeting. Jeannie had to write 4 pages on me last meeting.
Keeping her informed.
All right, so obviously there's a question on the size of the lot. There are a couple other lots, and I did not submit the evidence prior to the last meeting, and I have copies that I can hand out to everybody now with just an overview of the tax map of some of the other undersized lots within the township, or within that 2-street area. And there's plenty of others that I could have highlighted as well, but I try to keep it to the minimum of the properties that are immediately surrounding. If I could approach the board and provide you with
Sure.
a quick summary. So let me find. So on the first page, there is a list of the 6 properties. On the second page, I've got them numbered and highlighted to show which properties I'm referring to. The pages following that are the tax records from the Montgomery County records, tax records. And then I have a copy of the agreement of
Thank you.
sale.
Do you have the owners on there too?
I do.
You do?
Yes.
Thank you.
Tax records, it's on the summary page and then also the tax record information.
Congratulations, you can read it.
I've brought that as well.
So what's your assertion or contention as a
Okay.
result of this?
Would you like to take a moment to review it, or should I just start speaking? I don't.
I think that you can start.
Okay, so essentially what I did is I did some tax research, my partner and I, just to see some of the surrounding properties, knowing that there were many undersized lots in the area. The property immediately adjacent to ours, which I'm calling Location 1, address is 2975 Fifth Street. It's 180 foot wide, it's 100 foot deep. It's 18,000 square feet. It has a home on it. You can see the address there is 2975. It's in the tax records, it's lots 80 through 84. And it's clearly an undersized lot. It doesn't meet the size requirements. It doesn't meet the front and rear setback requirements, just the same as ours. The only thing it does meet different than ours is the fact that it's a little bit wider. Lot 2, Location 2, which I'm referencing, is 2922 Fifth Street, directly across the street from our property. That is considered lots 108 through 103. It's 140 feet wide by 100 foot deep, the exact same dimensions as our property. Therefore, the exact same requirements. It's an undersized lot. It wouldn't meet the front or rear setback issues. It also wouldn't meet the lot width issues. Location 3 is 405 Hillside. And I believe I might have transposed the addresses unless that's opposite. My location 3 would be on 5th Street, the corner of 5th Street and Hillside. 110 feet wide, 140 foot deep. It's only 15,400 square feet. It was actually new construction, built in 2004. So it was an undersized lot at that time that would have needed similar requirements. Location 4 would be on the opposite corner of Hillside. Only 90 feet wide by 140 foot deep, 12,600 square feet. A smaller lot than we're proposing. Again, undersized lot width issues. Location 5 is directly behind the property that's adjacent to ours. That's known as 2966 4th Street. Again, it's 160 feet wide, 100 feet deep, totaling only 16,000 square feet. Again, needing the same type of setback relief and variances. Last location is on the corner there of Hillside and 5th Street on the other side. It's 501 Hillside Avenue. It's only 120 feet wide, 100 feet deep, only 12,000 square feet. So again, undersized and needing all the same relief type requirements that we'd be looking for. And I could have gone on and on as far as following this, this little radius out to show you that there was, a multitude of additional properties that are considered undersized and needing the same requirements. These lots, they're all these small lots that are being put together to try to meet various dimensions to get as much size as they can for the area. I feel that our 140 foot wide by 100 foot deep is similar to these 6 properties and many other properties in the area. I believe it's going to fit the nature of it. The home that we're proposing is a 2-story colonial. You can see that we have a carriage-style garage door on there. We built a nice home. We have stone front exterior. Like I said, the carriage-style garage doors. A nice front porch. Inside, everything's going to be mid-level to upscale. Maple cabinets, granite countertops, hardwood flooring, 2-panel doors, oil rub bronze finishes. So, we're not coming in here to try to just throw up a cheap house and move on to the next project. We take pride in our work, and we try to build a nice home that's going to fit the community, bring up the value of the land, and blend in with the neighbors. So,
But a lot of these examples that you give are old in the sense that they were developed or constructed back in the 80s or the early 90s, right?
Correct. And I can't argue with that on 4 of them. 2 of them are newer construction. Location 3 and what was the other one? And location 5 were both built in the last 10 years. One was in 2004, one was in 2006. And I believe if if I'm not mistaken, that they would have required a variance at that time, and it was granted for them.
They were both tabled.
Hmm?
They were both 3 and 5 were
Don't know.
tabled.
Would that be 3 then? That's 5th. 5 then, yeah.
That's the last one.
So you want to ask the questions?
Which I did.
Any questions?
There's a new house in there, isn't there?
That's what they're saying, yeah.
Yeah.
This is a new house, and this is a new house. And they would have had to obtain variances theoretically to build those too.
Is that the one that was built without the permits?
That's what they're talking about.
I think one of his houses.
Right.
What are we doing here?
Was there an issue with any, I don't know this personally, but was there an issue with one of these houses being built, the new houses being built without a permit?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so they're all conforming as far as you know? The new houses, they went through the process, et
Yes.
cetera? Okay.
That's the best of your knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else?
Nothing else to add? Okay. Anybody in the audience who wants to say anything, it's their time. Thank you.
And Mr. Miller wants to speak.
Come on up.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
You bring the sunshine with you.
Remember me, huh?
Mr. Miller,
Yes,
you
sir.
bring the sunshine with you.
Obviously not.
I wish I could have,
So do we.
because I already have a cold.
Uh-oh.
So,
Before you start,
pardon me?
before you start, she's going to swear you in as
Oh,
you're
okay.
testifying.
State your full name.
Kenneth Miller.
Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this matter is the truth, the full truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The last time I said that, it was 66 years ago.
In the Army.
I'm still here. We have a little problem here. This gentleman, he's speaking about the kind of houses that is around our property here. And we have variances. And this fella says the kind of home he wants to put in. The kind of home he wants to put in is too large for our area. These people don't live in the house that they build. And the people that may possibly live in those houses have children. And the property takes up the house they build takes up all the property. These children want someplace to play. So, yes, we have property there. We acquired it in the 50, 60 years that we have lived there. So we have some extra property. But if these build this house, they have children, where's the children going to play? Our kids like to play ball, maybe sleep out overnight with a tent or what have you. They're going to come on my property. And if they get hurt, then I'm responsible for them. So if this gentleman wants to build a house, let him build a small house where they have some lawn that they can play on. I don't know if I'm right or not, but most of the houses that have a variance there, they have a small house and they still have a lawn that the kids can play on and a place to park their cars and what have you. So, another thing, I would like to know if he does build a home there, where is he going to put the sewer line in? I heard he wanted to go across my property to put a sewer line in on 4th Street. 5th Street has sewer lines going up through there.
Can I
So
address
why
it?
would he want to use my property to,
Can I answer that for you?
Yes,
We're-
please.
There's no intention to cross your property for the sewer line. There is sewer directly in Fifth Street,
Oh.
and we actually, we met the sewer authority out there, opened up the manhole, it's right out in front of our property. We're gonna tie
Right,
it directly
right.
into the sewer line, right in
Okay.
front of our property on Fifth Street there.
And-
All the construction activities will be directly in front of our property.
And-
Nothing will,
and another thing, what about the water? The water's going to come in from Hillside?
Water's
Or are
gonna-
they going to have a well?
there'll be a well there. So no,
There'll be a well.
That's correct.
Well, you see, there's another thing. Fortunately, we have never been without water. But the more people that tapping into our water supply, the less water there's going to be. So there is a water line goes up Hillside, and I think it stops at 4th Street. I'm not sure. But we have a well, and our neighbors all have a well. Now, there's only so much water that can be taken out of a well. I mean, fortunately nowadays, yeah, there is plenty of water. But what about in the summertime and, you know, the situation when it's dry, the water level goes down. So, I guess this is my complaint. I don't know. Do you have any questions for me, or you want to try to shoot me down? I mean, I don't know.
The only question I have you ever had an issue with a dry well?
No, but my neighbor did. Michael,
That's-
he lives on 5th Street, and he has a well. And he, of course, he's been there for 42 years. And he was telling me last summer that he had trouble with his well. And I think when Catitas lived there, this is going way back, they're the ones that had the property that you people are interested in. He had to have another well drilled because his well went dry. And I wrote a little note here. The sewer line, you straighten that out, the water line. What would be wrong with trying to get a water line in there? Use town water instead of putting in a well. Now, I don't know. I think the people on 4th Street, Mrs. Tabor could tell you that. They have town water.
Very costly.
Pardon me?
It was very costly to run it back for one house, almost $29,000,
One house, and that's a short line.
and that was much.
And that
shorter
come in
than-
from 4th Street. So is that the end of the water line that comes up?
Well,
Or is it going up to?
Hey, you have to turn
It
around,
would-
excuse me, Mr.
Pardon
Miller.
me?
She has to
Be
hear
able
what
to hear
you're
you,
saying.
and
Oh,
they have
I'm
to be-
sorry.
They have to be
Yeah.
sworn if they're going to testify.
Yeah, you
but-
can't have a conversation with them unless they
Oh,
get
I'm
sworn
sorry.
in.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
It's okay.
You're
Excuse
forgiven.
me, please.
That's okay.
I'm not used to this. Talking in front of gentlemen,
You're
ladies.
doing great. You're doing great.
This is a little cheap.
And another thing, I'd like to get that, if you people are going to put in I would like to have a smaller house so that the people that lives in it has a yard that their children can play in. And I'd like to have the property surveyed to make sure that Mr. Catita, years ago, when we had the sewer line put in, he did put a sewer line from his home down to 4th Street. At that time, he owned the property next to mine up there, and he put it about a foot or two on my property. and the people that live up there now, they still use it. It's never been no problem to me. As far as I'm concerned, they could have it there for the rest of their life because it's only about 2 foot on my property. So that's why I'd like to get it surveyed to make sure the property lines are correct. And if they do build a house, I would like to have them put in a porta potty for sanitary conditions of the workers that are building the house. And I guess that's about all I have to say.
I just need some clarification, Mr. Miller, I'm sorry, because we were presented with a letter from Fran Riccuti. Does he represent you?
Yes?
And in his letter, have you seen this letter?
That's my daughter there.
Take a moment to read it. I just want some clarification, that's all.
That what? For to build a house. Well, that went through the court.
Yes.
And they were supposed to give it to us 8 years ago.
Well, that's
I'm just trying to find out if you oppose it. You sound like you oppose it, but we received a letter saying that you didn't oppose it. So I just want to know from you what your perspective is, or what
Well,
your position is.
it's okay if they want to build a house.
But not
what-
as big a house.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That is my problem. They can't, I wouldn't like them to take the whole property to build a house. Because then, this way, on this side, no grass, no place for the kids to play, if there is children. These people don't have no kids. I guess they don't care where the kids play. Maybe they want to send them to school as soon as they get born. But our kids had a place to play. And we enjoyed having the kids at our home playing. So we didn't have to worry about them at the neighbors. And I think possibly you people would be the same way. So I guess that's about all I
Great.
want to say.
That was the clarification I was looking for, so thank you.
We need to have the letter back.
You can keep that, I don't need it. but-
I appreciate your time, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry I couldn't satisfy you with the sunshine. But I understand it's coming.
Your presentation was sunshine-filled enough.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Can I respond to a couple of his questions? All right, so one of the things that Mr. Miller had commented a number of...
Wait a minute. Is that microphone on? Can you hear him, Paul? Okay.
One of the concerns that Mr. Miller had, it sounds like he's still in support of the new home, which is good to hear. The one main concern he had was about the size of the house. And I think he mentions about not having a yard and us building on the entire property. By the footprint that we have is only taking up about 1,600 square feet of the property.
I think you should be talking to Mr. Miller about that issue, and maybe he won't oppose, I don't know,
Okay.
but.
Well, basically, I'm just trying to address to the board and to Mr. Miller that the house that we're proposing to build is only, the square footage it's going to take up is roughly 11% building coverage of the entire property. So we're only taking up about, with impervious coverage, which would be the driveway, only about 16%. There's going to be 10,000 square feet plus of land, less than a fifth of the land is going to be taken up for the house itself. So there's going to be, I'm not going to say there's going to be abundance of land, and we all know it's an undersized lot, but I believe that there's going to be a sizable area for the family, the children, whoever might purchase this property to build in. I think the footprint that's shown up there on the screen The dashed lines is not the size of the house. That's the size of the house that we could technically build if we filled out the entire footprint. We're only going to take up a fifth of the entire property with a building.
Can you show him?
So basically, what you're saying is just the solid line is what you're actually going to take up?
Yeah, that's
So
correct.
the dotted line is your dream? and
No,
you're
no, no,
not
no,
doing
no.
your dream.
No, the dotted line is this, so we're requesting to take the setback to 34 feet in the front and 30 feet in the front, 34 feet in the back. That's what we need to be able to build a certain depth house. The 25 feet here meets their standard requirements of a 25-foot setback. So this entire width here is technically, is something that could always be, that is allowed by code to be built. We're not planning on building that. We're planning on building in this small area right in here, leaving all of this, all of that, and all that. There's going to be a side yard, which is more separation between our property and yours, and there's going to be a 34-foot backyard, and I believe the area behind there is open as well. So I feel that it's being misrepresented as a large house on a small property.
Did he say this was not going to be there?
And I just wanted to clear that up for you. I feel that it fits the nature. I don't think it's any bigger than any of the other houses. There's actually some newer houses that have been built that are much larger than the house that we're proposing, and on smaller lots. So I just wanted to try to, ease your mind a little bit on that.
Just 400 square feet.
Yeah.
Sure.
See what they, I mean, if you're okay, it's fine with me.
The picture you gave us,
Yes.
how close is that to what you were talking about?
The front elevation is going to be very similar.
No, I mean size.
Of the
How many
house.
square feet?
That, like I said, that's a front elevation, so I can build off that front elevation depending on the size of the house. The house that we're proposing to build is going to be about, like I said, 2,100 to 2,300 square feet, depending on what plan we end up for this particular property. But that front elevation is a proposed front elevation that we like the look of it. It's a successful selling home, and I feel it fits the nature of just about any neighborhood. It's a colonial style house, stone front exterior. So that footprint, that front elevation you're seeing meets the width that you see of the house on that plan.
Mr. Miller, don't go anywhere because I have a question for you. Please.
Okay, sir,
You're fine where you are, as long as you speak loudly.
okay.
So with that caveat or that explanation, you're suggesting that you don't have opposition as long as the house is as he describes it on this plan. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
What about the well?
Well, I would like to see him get town water instead of using a well. But like the chamber said, it's very expensive, I don't know.
Is it close to you?
No, it is not close to us. I mean, it would be, financially, it would be
I think it's Keystone American.
the
Well,
cost.
it says it's not close to
The
them.
cost to it would be prohibitive of us doing the project.
So you heard what he said about the cost is just too much. Are there any other objections that you have?
No, I can't think of any right now.
Okay. Just want to make sure that everybody has their chance to shine here, if you will. Pardon the pun.
Got one more thing. What would be the objection for me to put a fence up from around my property and theirs or his?
I don't think there's any objection to it. You could do that as long as you went through the permitting process.
Oh, okay.
And that's pretty straightforward. That's a lot easier than this.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know anything about this, and so I have to ask.
Right.
I think it's 6 foot.
I can help you.
Which is 6 foot or 10 foot now?
A fence? Oh, no, I don't want to put a fence in that big. Maybe 4-foot chain links or something like that.
You don't put chain link up, you got kids playing in the
telling me-
neighborhood that'll be getting tied up.
You can't put barbed wire either.
Well,
Barbed wire.
no.
No, you're
No
you're
barbed-
asking about having him put a fence up.
No, he was saying,
Or you
Mr.
wanna put a
Miller
fence
wanted to
up?
put it up.
Well,
He was questioning on how to do it.
Right.
I was
How you-
suggesting if I would want to put a fence up, would it be all right? But he said I had to.
The young lady in the red dress, she can help.
Oh,
She'll help you with a
okay.
permit.
Are you at the township building? Oh, okay.
That's what she's there to help residents
Okay.
just like you get what you need. Okay, great. Well, thank
Yes,
you.
That's fine, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
well, that's a decision that maybe you should make.
Your
You know.
opposition has been tempered. It's no longer as vociferous as it once was.
What can I
What's the
say?
cooties they got?
Thank you anyway.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything from the audience who'd like to speak on the issue? Do you have anything else, Mr. Pusey, you wanted to add? I think we've sort of been around the block on it,
Yeah.
but I don't want to tamper your enthusiasm.
I would just like to say I appreciate Mr. Miller's support now.
Great. Okay. Any questions from this illustrious board at 10:25?
Let's go in the back room.
You want to huddle?
Let's huddle.
Okay. Madam Chair,
Do we want to,
we've had a request for a huddle.
a huddle? Do we want to take it under advisement? Do we, what
Maybe
what
we
do we
should
want to
go
do?
on the huddle and see.
Huddle?
Let's see.
Okay.
See what he does.
The board will take a recess to discuss this case. Okay. Thank you.
My tape's over, I wasn't putting another one in.
The meeting will reconvene at 10:41. Okay, we have one item. Take it away. Z14-02. Do I hear a motion?
Madam Chairman, I'll put a motion on the floor to deny application Z1402.
A motion to deny. Chair will second it. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion denied.
He wants an opinion.
Well, you'll get an opinion, but the gist of the tenor of the board is that it hasn't met the standard for a variance from the ordinance.
There's no hardship.
There's no hardship. It's a self-imposed hardship. It's the standard, in addition to that, that hasn't been met.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you sure? I mean, this property was held in single and separate ownership when the ordinance changed. The ordinance imposes the hardship on the land going forward. The ordinance imposed the hardship. Because the lots were undersized. I actually have, two separate pieces were held in single and separate ownership.
Can I ask you a
could
question,
almost
Mrs.
get
Tabor?
two.
Why didn't you come up and testify when you had a
Because
chance?
I don't have all the paperwork with me.
Thank you.
But it's this is rudimentary,
Thank you.
the hardship is imposed by the land.
Thanks.
Let's just warm my warm.
Yes?
Meeting's adjourned.
You got a motion?
Do you have a motion? And a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thanks, Dean.
Thank you.